So Unit 2, Activity 3 is taking the theory of the fashion cycle a little bit further, and it covers how fashion gets adopted by consumers and who helps that along. So what you need to know is the fashion leader is the person that causes fashion to be adopted. And it's influenced by many variables, royalty, like Kate Middleton, war, money, tech, social values, designers. But even though it's influenced, it's not actually spread by these things. And the influence doesn't cause people to bring out their wallets and buy these certain styles that are in fashion. So the fashion leader helps that along. And we kind of brushed on this a little bit in the last activity, where we talked about the upper socioeconomic status, and the people with money are the ones that actually get this done. But this goes into a little bit more detail when we consider from which way the fashion flows. So we're going to talk about three things in this unit. We're going to talk about trickle down, so starting at the top and moving down to the bottom. We're going to talk about trickle up, and we're going to talk about trickle across just a little bit. So all of these theories are valid. I'm not asking you to pick one. It's just certain circumstances have different theories that apply to them. So let's talk a little bit more about this in real life to make it make more sense. So fashion innovators. Fashion innovators are fashion leaders. They're found at the beginning of the fashion cycle. And fashion innovators create fashion. So traditionally, these fashion innovators were designers whose innovations or creativeness trickled down to the masses. So this trickle-down process is most effective when these styles from fashion innovators are worn by fashion motivators. So we are going to talk about motivators next, but fashion innovators create the fashion. So if a celebrity decides to start wearing something innovative, they are technically a fashion innovator. Innovators are the ones creating. So when we're talking about street fashion, so let's say it could even be the virtual street, like Instagram celebrities, it trickles up. So let's say a person who's really hot on Instagram right now is caught wearing a specific watch, then they are at the bottom. They aren't a fashion innovator or motivator yet, but them wearing that watch and people wanting to get it might cause other designers to make watches that look like that. So that's the trickle up. So the grunge look in the mid-90s was an example of street fashion that ended up inspiring Karl Lagerfeld to design grungy looks for the House of Chanel. So street fashions originate as underground styles, and then they're made popular by designers. So other things that were street fashion first were jeans. Jeans were functional. They were popular among gold miners and farmers because they lasted forever. Then they were easy to wash. And then they were reinterpreted by Calvin Klein and Gloria Vanderbilt in the 70s and became high fashion and not just things that farmers wear. Same thing for the miniskirt. The miniskirt was originally worn by prostitutes. It was also worn by creative minds and art students and the social group known as the Mods in London in the 1960s. And then it had a resurgence on the catwalk in the 90s. And many women now have a miniskirt in their wardrobe at some point. So let's talk a little bit more about street style. So like I mentioned, street fashion trickles up. So the street, the masses, they inspire the designers. So you have to think of like the people, the normal everyday people at the bottom, and the designers at the top. Social movements also influence fashion, and this would be another example of trickle up. So we've talked about punk fashion and grunge fashion. We talked about hippies in the last unit. These social movements, if large chunks of people are wearing certain things and they're getting lots of media attention, they can influence fashion as well. So we're not really seeing anything major at this point of time, with the exception of the environmental movement. So you might not think of this as a social movement, but it is. So environmental issues such as sustainability are influencing the collections of designers. One of the things that designers are using is bamboo fabric in their collection because it is more sustainable than like cotton. And so this in turn makes designers' collections a vehicle for political and social justice statements. Let's move on to fashion motivator. So sometimes fashion motivators are fashion innovators as well. Sometimes they're both. But the fashion motivator is really just the celebrity status. So if they wear it, people will buy it. And it isn't necessarily innovative, it's just if they wear it, people will buy it. So Princess Kate, for example, when she wears something, the stuff flies off the shelves. And sometimes she wears something really cheap, and like something from Topshop, and it is sold out within minutes. Like, it's very, very popular. So she's definitely a fashion motivator. And they are at the beginning of the cycle. Fashion motivators have money, so they are from a visible segment of society. So a lot of fashion motivators are royalty, involved in politics, maybe sports, or entertainment. They're generally a celebrity in some way, shape, or form. So I put Kylie Jenner on here. So fashion motivators, there's a big list here, and you might not know some of these people, but generally they have something or a couple of things that they have popularized. So Princess Diana popularized like a slick hairstyle and hats. John Lennon popularized round wire-rimmed glasses. Madonna popularized wearing undergarments and lingerie as outerwear. Rachel from Friends had one of the most popular haircuts in the 90s, and Jennifer Aniston, we can thank for that. And basketball. I didn't put any name in particular, but basketball shoes are popular for everyday use. And we have celebrities involved in basketball to thank for popularizing wearing that. So right now, you can think about how much media coverage is given to red carpet fashion at like the Academy Awards. And so much effort is put into what female actors are wearing. And you can see this everywhere. You'll see it online, you'll see it in magazines. And so these people are really fashion motivators. So moving on, the reality is that most of us can't afford to wear couture or ready-to-wear price points. So the mass consumer, the everyday person, generally buys at mass-produced price points. So think of like Forever 21 or H&M. These are cheap clothes that are designed after things that are in fashion, in ready-to-wear and couture runway shows. So here is an example of trickle down. So we can see here that the designer, who's the fashion innovator, designs a couture garment. So there's a show, the garment gets publicity, and then since people have seen it, retailers purchase similar copies from manufacturers who are designing in ready-to-wear. So people see this beautiful thing, then they start making copies of it, and then it gets further copied for mass production. So this all takes time. Eventually, as it gets phased out of the fashion cycle, then you can find it in discount or low-end clothing stores. So like Giant Tiger or Walmart or Target or Zellers. So there's been some time since it was high fashion, and now it is on its way out, but you can find it. So this is an example of trickle-down theory. So trickle up is when the street style inspires the fashion innovator. Trickle down is when the fashion innovator inspires ready-to-wear, that inspires mass production, that gets sold in the bargain bin. The last thing that I want you to do is go through the virtual learning object about fashion adoption. I want to really make sure that you understand this because the Unit Unit 2 activity for assignment is going to talk about all this trickling theory. So I want you to know about it. So give that a look and then head over to the assignment page.